you so much for the donation. Off tangents. You said, can you talk about the dreams where you're crying? Okay, that's another one that you're emotionally invested into something. So for the most part, you don't want something to happen. So it's like you might not necessarily be emotionally invested into an actual person, place, or thing, but you might be emotionally invested into something that can happen. So it might be something that you don't want to happen. So it might be something that you're creating yourself. Now it could be anything, but in your dream, it might manifest into you crying, aka you're in a state of being of something that you don't want to happen. Remind you, in your third dimensional life, it might be something that didn't even happen yet, or something that didn't even take place. So you're creating a shape or form and you're bringing it in your here now. So you're bringing something in your space now. Once you go back to your Genesis and when you go to sleep, right? Now, that actually is still a shape and form that you brought into your space. It's one of your chakras you created. Now you have to experience that state of awareness, because you going into it as a spaceship. You're dreaming about it now. Now it's going to manifest into another scenario that might look like representations of your wake life, because the third dimension is like a paintbrush to paint your space at the moment when you're in as a state of being, as your spirit, right? And then there, you want to if the state of being that you're in is something that you don't want to let go, it may play out as you actually, as it being something that's been let go of in your, that's something. It might play out as something that you had to let go of in your dream, and something that you start crying about. So you might, in your dream, you might not know what you're crying about, but then think about all the scenarios that play out of why a person will cry. Why would a person cry in the third dimension when they are awake? They lost something. Something hurt it. See what I'm saying? So for the most part, whatever that you are in awake life, it might be something in a light vibrational frequency. It might be something that you don't give a lot of attention to. So you don't pay it a lot of attention. So you don't put a lot of you don't put a lot of percentage level of energy force into it. As a spirit, we create soul force, we create chakras, we create lights. You don't put a lot of energy created soul force in, so it's a small percentage, right? So for the most part, it's very light. So in your dream, so it might be very something light that you don't want to let go, but something that's not on your heart, something you don't think or feel about throughout the day. You don't give a lot of percentage to. So it's still a part of you though. So every now and then, when you going back into your Genesis, you go back into one of your creations. You create another astral projection to travel in, another chakra there based upon your faith, belief, and imagination. And so every now and then you go into that little as a spaceship as a space. And then you experience crying. And then in your dream, you don't know what you're crying for, because that space you went into, you ain't put a lot of percentage level into it. So it's not a realm of reality that you created big enough to know that when you wake up, you could be like that. I was crying and it looked like I was here and I was there and I was that. It's too vague. So you only remember the state of being and the representation of that state of being. And a heavy, very low vibrational representation external wise of that state of being will be crying. So that would be the only thing that you remember when you went in the fourth, fifth, and sixth dimensional realm of that very vague realm of reality that you put a very low percentage level of attention. If you get what I'm saying. You see what I'm saying? Shit be deep though. Shit deep in this motherfucker. Thank you so much for the donation. Bam fourth and my Maya. And these are the last questions and I'm out, y'all. You said 720 people in this 720 people in the chat. 720. Oh yeah, it's 720. We lit this motherfucker. And